It's bright. Hey y'all, this is Amanda and welcome back to my Texas Zone 8A garden, and today we're in the backyard. We are going to be transplanting my climbing rose back there. We're actually going to take it out of the container and put it in the ground, and we're going to be planting 3 new varieties of heirloom chrysanthemums. Okay, so this bed over here is one of my heirloom chrysanthemum beds, and everything's going dormant for the winter. But I did need to go ahead and get 3 new varieties planted, and I didn't recently buy these. These were varieties that I grew from basically cuttings that I ordered from King's Mums, but I just put them in some quart containers and have been growing them on and then have never gotten them planted. And then this guy right here, this America Climbing Rose, is going to be one of the major features for the entrance to the shade garden. And it's always been in a container. I think I am ready to put it in the ground because this is its location. It's going to be here. So I think we're going to start with that, pull this out, pull it out of the container, and then get it down into the ground. I think that'll work really, really well. I think this will allow the rose to grow larger over time, which is what I'm definitely going to want as it kind of travels over the shade garden. Okay, so this bed actually has a weed barrier here. So I'm basically just going to be pulling back some of the mulch and stuff, and then I'm going to be cutting through this weed barrier with my hoary knife. So my hoary knife has like a serrated edge. I know weed barriers aren't for everyone, but it was necessary in this particular bed because of the amount of amaranthus seeds that have reseeded themselves here. It just made sense to go ahead and put this down so I wasn't constantly battling those over the years. So most of my soil in this area is going to be clay soil, which you can see as soon as I pull it up, it's all clay. And that is not what I want to put my rose in. So all the soil I'm going to dig up right here, I'm going to just get rid of. Okay, so I have an existing sprinkler line right here. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Sprinkler line right there, but it's on a flexible. It's flexible, so I'll probably just push it off to the side. And this is actually closed up. We capped it when I built this garden, so it doesn't even send water this direction anymore. But got a lot of that out, got a lot of the soil, I wouldn't say soil, clay out, and made enough space where now I can sink in the rose roots and backfill it with the existing soil from the container that it's currently in. Okay, so there is a little bit of purslane that has reseeded itself here, so I'm just pulling that out right there. And then this does have a drip line that I must have pulled out and didn't realize, but I'll be putting that back in this space. So let's see what we got here. All right, there's the container. Push this off to the side. Look at all those roots. It's definitely ready to get out of this, out of here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is loosen this up a little bit. Okay, let's see how well this fits. Okay, actually, not bad. So I want the crown of the rose to sit up a little bit above ground. This is a couple of inches above ground. The reason I want it to be like that is because of all of the clay soil in here. And this just allows it to have a little bit better drainage. And then at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take soil that was in the container, get that tossed back over here. Now I'm not hitting this with a bunch of fertilizer right now. While I do want it to grow roots, I don't want to kick it into starting to produce blooms right now because this is the wrong season for that. I'm just using my hand to kind of push down around the crown and get that soil in there. The key to transplanting something at this time of year is always going to be watering well. That's always going to be the most important thing. Keep it well watered, it's most likely going to be okay. And I'm going to pull back some of the landscape fabric up over the crown a little bit to help with moisture retention and to also help with temps. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add a good 3 to 4 inches of mulch on top of this. And this is a cypress mulch. And I am bringing it up over the crown of the rose for added protection from the cold weather. All right, that looks good. All right, and then I've got my irrigation back in. Slide that back around there. And it's an adjustable irrigation. Let me start it and make sure it's working okay. All right, so you can see the irrigation right there going, and that's watering the crown. Works really well. I'm getting a little bit of a leak right here, so I'm going to mark this, and when there's a time that I come back and fix all the irrigation, I'll get that taken care of. It's just a little drip right now, so it should be fine. Sweet. We still have roses blooming. It's America Rose. It smells amazing. I'm not going to worry about directing any of these canes right now. I mean, eventually we'll be training them up this direction. Now you might be like, why did you not go all the way to this corner? Because that's where a bunch of my drip lines go in to go across the whole back of the house. So I did not want to interfere with those drip lines. Secondly, while I am going to train it this way, I also might train it this way as well. So there's 2 areas. And then I also pushed it back against the house for additional support. I did have it more forward when it was in its container. And then that, by pushing it backwards, that allows me more room to add another chrysanthemum. So let's talk about those varieties that I just got. Okay, I did want to point out on the rose, a lot of people are like, oh, you should put it on fertilizer. So I'm really worried about it. I kept most of the root ball intact. So I'm not really stressed about it producing like tons and tons of roots because I didn't really mess with the root ball anyway. The root ball is actually going to be warmer and more comfortable in the ground than it was going to be in the container. So I feel pretty good about that. And then once again, I'm not wanting to jump start this rose into blooming. It's supposed to be going to bed. It's supposed to be going dormant, and it's still trying to produce blooms. So I really didn't want to also, in addition, add a bunch of fertilizer with it. I will go back and fertilize it around Valentine's Day when I go do all the pruning on all my roses. I will make sure it has adequate fertilization at that time. But glad to have that in the ground. America Climbing Rose has been a very sturdy rose, very pretty disease resistant. When I say disease resistant, I don't mean that it never gets disease. I mean that it doesn't die from the disease. So it does get black spot, and when it gets black spot, it just drops its leaves and grows new leaves. That's it. It doesn't kill the plant, doesn't hurt the plant, just drops the leaves that have black spot and regenerates new leaves. So a lot of times when you see disease resistant, it makes you think that, oh, it doesn't get that disease. That's not necessarily the case. It means that the plant can handle the disease, or, you know, while it might not get it as frequently, if it does get it, it's resistant to dying if it has that disease. So good to know, right, for the America Climbing Rose. But I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like as it grows over the shade entrance. Now, I have so many plants to get planted. All of these need to get planted before, well, they should have been planted months ago, but I do have 3 varieties of chrysanthemums in here that we're going to look at, and I'll put some pictures. These don't look great right at this particular moment. This first one is called Cocoa Bun Me, and it is a lavender large variety, and it has really large, beautiful blooms. And I bought this as a cutting from King's Mums. I was able to get on their list. I was on their list, and I'll put their website below. You can go on their list and you can like be added to their wait list, basically. Because what King's Mums does is they sell to their current clients first, and then if there's anything left over, they'll reach out to the people on the waiting list. So last year around this time, I added myself to the waiting list. I got an email from them maybe April or May, maybe May, and saying that they did have some varieties left over and was I interested. And so at that time I bought several varieties. And so now I should be a current customer now that I've been able to purchase from them. And so hopefully I'll get some first dibs on some varieties in the future. This one, so when I got these were like this big. I have a video or a picture of them somewhere that I'll put up for you guys to see. They were tiny, and I don't recall the price, but I'll put it up there as well. And so what I ended up doing is I really didn't know where I wanted to put these as of yet. I was trying to determine if I wanted to tuck more of them into my landscape on the side of the house. In the end, I really liked having just a large chrysanthemum garden where everything was tucked together and brought together. I thought that was a really neat look. So I've decided to go back and add these. In the meantime, when I didn't know what I was doing, I just planted the cuttings in these quart containers, and that just, or is this a gallon? This might be a gallon. In these containers, and that allowed them to grow on and grow really great root systems while I was trying to figure out where to put them. So we've got the Cocoa Bun Me, which is a really pale, like lavender purple color, very, very fluffy, absolutely gorgeous flower. So I was very excited about that. I will be pruning these before I plant them, but I left the flowers on, or what's left of the flowers, so that you could see. This next variety has been a showstopper. This variety is called Lily Gallon, and this is a purple large variety, and its blooms are so fluffy and happy, and it's just like looks bed wrinkled right now, and that's because it's been through some tough weather. But this guy, I had him in here. I had a stake in here to help prop him up because of its size. He's actually huge. So this is bent. This actually is probably 3 feet tall at this point in time. And this is, you know, I didn't prune these earlier on because they were just cuttings. I just stuck the cutting in. Now, in the future, when I'll prune them back and plant them, they should give off multiple stems instead of just this one stem. But I cannot wait to design with these next year. They are just so fun and so wonderful, so unusual. They give a little bit of a dahlia feel, but they're huge because, I mean, I have big hands. Look how big those blooms are. Absolutely gorgeous. So this is going to be a fun one to watch, this Lily Gallon. And then the last variety that we're going to be planting today is this a beautiful kind of like gold terracotta design. This one is called Saint Tropez, and they call it a red color, and it's about a medium height. And it has, I really feel like all the blooms like weren't long stem. They were all bunches of one stem. So it's like one stem and then they all spray off of that, which will be interesting for next year if I get multiple stems and then sprays off of each of the multiple stems. None of these particular flowers are like really, really long, which is fine, you know. It's just something a little bit different when we're arranging. But I really loved where it was the darker kind of reddish bronze color on the top, and then the underneath part of the leaves are this kind of yellowy tone. These blooms are old. All of these blooms are old, so they're not nearly as vibrant as they were when they first started blooming. But once again, these were just cuttings that I stuck in containers, in these 1-gallon containers, and allowed them to grow on. And now I have figured out where I want to put them. So let's go get these planted. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to plant the variety Lily Gallon right here. Now, a couple of thoughts behind that. I like this color combination with the America Rose in the background. I think that's really important. I don't love something like this rusty orange with the pink. I don't think that works as well, so that's why I'm not going to plant like this particular variety. Right beside it, I have one that's called Daybreak. It has not done very well. It did survive, but it didn't really do very much. And this was another one of the cuttings. So you can see the difference in the cuttings. This one that got planted versus this one that got planted, right? So I'm going to leave it for now and give it another season and see if it comes back. For the time being, we're going to come in here. And once again, like I said, this has weed barrier in it to prevent all the amaranthus leaves from coming back up. So I'm going to take my hoary knife, use the serrated side of it, cut through the fabric. A lot of people are like, if you're cutting through the fabric, why did you put it down in the first place? Well, you can cut this back so that it has folds, and then the folds can be pushed back around the base of the plant. So, and then you can also take these folds and just tuck them in like that. So it still gets the benefit of preventing the weeds, which works well for me. So let's go ahead and prepare this a little bit, in that we're going to go ahead and cut this, which I know looks so sad, but I'm just going to leave like a 6-inch stem on there like that. And then that allows the plant to really just focus on creating roots and not focus on supporting those flowers that were still in there. Secondly, I'm going to remove the root ball or the container from the plant. All these beautiful roots have gone around looking really, really good on it. I'm going to place it to the side, and then I'm going to use my hoary knife here, and I'm going to dig up some of the native soil here. Now, I have found that in my area, chrysanthemums do okay with the clay native soil. I think that it takes them a little bit longer to get established, but I do think if you have clay soil, as long as when you plant it, you leave like a really substantial like root ball all put together, it's going to be all right. It's probably going to do okay. So let's pull up, and I'm just using the pot that I took the plant out of to pack in some of this clay soil. I think clay soil just gets like waterlogged, and so it actually has tons and tons of nutrients in it, which I don't think most people realize, that it's just packed full of minerals that are really great for your plants. The biggest issue with clay is drainage. Some people ask, like, how do I know if I have clay? Like, if you take your soil out and you can like form like a little ball with it, you got clay. Some people don't know that, but I have a background in ceramics, and so I studied ceramics. I actually used to sell. I had a ceramic studio at my house, and so I taught ceramics for a lot of years, so pretty easy for me to identify clay. Now I am going to add some plant tone to the chrysanthemums, and the reason being is they have a much smaller root system than my rose did. My rose, I felt really comfortable not really disturbing it. This is such a new root system that I don't want to risk messing it up. I'm going to need some soil to go in here. Okay, so I've got some of my favorite potting soil. This is called BM7. I get it from Homegrown and Farmersville. So I put a lot of that in there. Plot to the side, and then I'm just going to get my plant down in there and backfill. And then once I've got it backfill, I'm leaving the tag on it too. I'm going to come back just like this with some of this mulch to kind of keep it safe. Easy peasy like that. And then I do want to make sure I water this in really well. Let's go ahead and get the next one planted. Okay, now over here I did plant 3 varieties of mums, 2 of which did well. This first one is called Lava. It did not do great. Oriental King, I feel like maybe it's the Oriental King. The Oriental King did not do well. The Lava did okay. They've already been cut back for the season. And then this last one is called Kelvin Mandarin. So I have them all the way across the front. The Kelvin Mandarin did okay. None of these grew really large to start off with. But what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and move back and plant an additional couple of varieties. I think I might plant one back into the corner over there, and then maybe an additional one maybe right here in this area. So let's go ahead and get that set up. I'm going to go ahead and start with pulling back the mulch right here. And this an area is also where I had amaranthus. You might be catching the drift that amaranthus spreads itself like crazy. So we're going to go ahead and dig out right here and go ahead and get one of them planted. All right, one more to go. Okay, and since this one right here did not make it, and I know that it did not make it, I mean, it rotted. I'm going to actually plant right here for the last variety, which is the Cocoa Bun Me. Wish it hadn't taken me so long to get these in the ground, but I think it actually worked out well because I ended up having spots in my Heirloom Chrysanthemum garden, and this gave me the opportunity to fill in those spots. So I actually think it worked really well. So when I put this one and the original one that was here and the original one was here, they were little tiny starts. They were little tiny just cuttings, rooted cuttings. And so these are this is a much more substantial plant, so it should do better here. We'll see. Fingers crossed. Okay, that felt good. Garden is not very exciting right now. What is exciting is adding, I'm sitting on a rock, hold up, is adding elements that I know are going to start growing in the spring. So that's very exciting, adding these chrysanthemums. However, I have to wait several months to see them. But still very excited about that as well. Some more videos I have coming up is I'm going to be adding some shade plants. I think I have 3. I have 3 shade plants to add to the shade garden. So I'm excited because those will be the first brand new plants that I'll be adding into the shade garden. Really excited about that. I'm also going to be doing some winter pruning, talking about pruning annuals versus perennials for the winter, which should be kind of fun and interesting, especially if you're someone who usually chops everything down in your garden. And then I'm also going to be working on a daffodil project where I'm filling basically a bunch of terracotta containers that are going to sit on these steps right here. I'm going to be filling those containers with a variety of daffodils as kind of like a exhibition of varieties for myself because this is the backyard. No one else can see it. But I kind of want to experiment and see what a bunch of different varieties look like and what times of year they bloom in. And I think it should be fun and kind of a little bit of a scientific experiment, but still a beautiful show that I'm going to put on with those daffodils. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed today's video, watching me replant or watch me plant that climbing rose into the ground and then planting 3 new varieties of heirloom chrysanthemums. If you haven't checked out the information about my heirloom chrysanthemum garden, I'll drop some links below. I would highly suggest you check it out. I do think heirloom chrysanthemums are going to be like the big next thing of flowers. I feel like dahlias like had their shine as of late, but I think that there's going to be a shift towards these heirloom chrysanthemums because they're so hardy and so easy to grow. All right, y'all, as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know my latest videos are up. And be sure to check me out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.